Hello everybody, my name is KingStix. I'm a master tier NA player and a challenger LAN player. The reason I want to make this video is because I've seen a lot of things climbing up on various accounts. I've gotten roughly 200 accounts into platinum and around 50 into diamond in the past couple of seasons. So I've definitely done my share of low elo grinds. These are the 5 biggest mistakes that beginners and noobs don't even realize they're making whenever they play League of Legends. Many people in low elo have a skewed perception of how strong jungle is as a role. Many people will constantly say to justify their play or to harass their jungler in or after game, better jungler wins. It's so prevalent that it's become a really funny meme on Twitter in the League community, or just a funny meme in general in League of Legends, just because people say it all the freaking time. This makes it all the more ironically delicious that low elo players fell toward the pixel brush almost every single game. There are 2 pixel brushes in League of Legends. They are on opposite sides of the river, right here and right here. They are on opposite side of the rivers. It is very important as a laner that you get a ward in here anywhere from the 105 second mark to the 120 second mark. By doing this, you will give your jungler a massive advantage. What kind of advantage are you giving them, you may ask? You are giving your jungler the knowledge to know if the enemy jungler is invading them or vertical jungling. If you don't know what vertical jungling is, it is simply whenever you clear the side of your jungle and then go immediately vertical into the enemy's jungle for the fastest clear possible, and also to try to either kill the enemy jungler or take their camps before they can get to it. By warding these pixel brushes, you are saving your jungler the coin flip of getting out jungled just by knowing that. Otherwise, if your jungler does the wrong path because they have no idea where the enemy jungler is, it can turn into a very easy coin flip to where even if the enemy jungler isn't as good, they can get a strong early game advantage. Not only that, but if the enemy jungler starts on red buff or blue buff and tries to do a cheeky level 2 gank, by warding this pixel brush, it will give you amazing vision as a laner. So you're not just helping out your jungler, you are also helping out yourself greatly with initial cheese ganks. A second huge mistake I see from low elo players and noobs is holding on to their summoners and ults in team fights or all-ins. I can't tell you how many times I've been playing support for an AD carry and we easily had the duel won, except my AD carry holds onto the hill and we both end up dying for it. So instead of us being 2-0, now we're 0-2. There's also many times in team fights where your teammate will refuse to use their summoner and ult because they just don't want to waste it. Rather than being afraid of wasting something, look for an opportunity and then go all in, assuming your teammates can follow you up. Another aspect of this is ult usage. There are a lot of champions whose ultimates can almost always lead to an easy kill. Sona ult, Leona ult, Fiddlesticks ult, Kennen ult, pretty much any ult in League of Legends that has really high damage, and especially if it has CC along with it, will almost always lead to a kill. So if you are one of these champions, right when you hit level 6, look to use your ultimate, because every second you're not using your ultimate in a decent situation is a second you're wasting and that you could be snowballing the game, but you're just choosing not to. A good example is if you're about to hit level 6 on Leona and you just need one more minion, get ready to level up your ultimate as fast as you can. Right when that minion dies, go all in, land your EQ combo, and then stun them while they're still stunned from your Q, while trying not to overlap your CC too hard because you don't want to waste it. Another really common scenario, if you've ever played a hyper carry champion that is very squishy like an AD carry, a lot of times your team will try to pill for you, but they'll be very greedy with their ability. So someone like Riven or Irelia will get on you. Instead of dumping exhaust and ult onto that person, your team will oftentimes use minimum spells as possible to try to get them off, and you end up dying. This is another perfect example of it's better safe than sorry. If there's a decent chance you're going to get killed or your teammate's going to get killed because you're not going to use your spell, just go ahead and use it. With that being said, I'm not advocating you intentionally waste abilities and summoner spells. If you believe you using that spell won't make a difference whatsoever, don't do it. Like if your teammate just runs in 1v5, they're expecting you to follow them up even when there's absolutely nothing you can do, don't follow it. The third huge mistake that I see low elo people make on a constant basis, and even some people in higher elo, is keeping watch. If you are going to keep watch, don't you dare go walk into a forward or neutral bush and then just AFK or tab out. I see this probably at least 1 out of 4 games in any given elo, especially in lower elo though. Probably 1 out of 4 lower elo and 1 out of 8 in higher elo. People will just straight up run out into a neutral bush in the river, or they'll run out into a forward bush in their own jungle and AFK. If you're doing that, you're better off running to one of your forward turrets and then AFKing on your turret. That way you're not risking feeding the enemy team. Also, if your jungler isn't starting on your blue buff, you don't need to watch the blue buff. You can just wait in a safe bush and lay a ward in the pixel brush, and that's good enough. You don't have to take a forward position. Now, let's say your jungler starting on red buff, then yeah, you need to get down a ward in the pixel brush, get forward positions in bushes, but don't AFK. If you are going to AFK, it is better that you stay in the base or go to a turret than it is for you to be standing in a bush and waiting. That absolutely drives me crazy. The fourth huge mistake I see low elo players or noobs make is pushing for absolutely no reason. In solo queue, pushing is a very dangerous tool that if used effectively can gain you a lot of advantages, but when used ineffectively, it sets you up to die non-stop. Whenever you push in solo queue, your teammates aren't good at communicating. If their laner roams, they're probably not going to ping it. If they see the jungler, there's a good chance they're not going to ping it. You're kind of just out there on the own. So every time you push, you're just inviting the enemies to come kill you in whatever lane you are at. Let me give you a couple of scenarios so you can wrap your head around this concept. This is coming from the perspective of bot lane. If you do not know where the enemy jungler is, you do not shove lane. Now, if this is in the first few minutes of the game, you know where they started, and you have the pixel brush warded or the tri brush warded, so if they're going to come gank you, you can see it, then in that case you can push, try to get an early level 2, get a kill, maybe try to get a turret plating, things of that nature. Once you're past the first 3 or 4 minutes of the game, when the enemy jungler could be anywhere really, if you have not seen them on the mini map since their start, you really should stop pushing, because if you do push, he's gonna come right to you. Also, if the enemy mid laner is someone like a Talon or Zed, if your mid laner is under their turret and you do not see the mid laner, you do not push and you need to back off. Pushing without a clear purpose has very little payoff and puts you in so much harm's way, risking losing the game. Anybody can get the Diamond 5 if you can minimize the amount of times you make mistakes and more importantly, die. Pushing wave without knowing when to do it is a great way of just dying and destroying your win rate. The only time you should be shoving lane is if 1, you can do it safely, and 2, if you're going to be benefiting off of it. Because even if you do believe you are safe, even if you think you have a good idea what's going on, an enemy can always throw down a teleport and put you in a sticky situation. So even if you know where the enemy jungler is, even if you know where the enemy mid laner is, if the enemy top laner, or if anyone on their team has teleport, things can get messy really quickly. Don't accept a false sense of security just by knowing where the enemy jungler and mid laner is. Now that you understand that you need to know what's going on the mini map and have something to benefit from in order to justify pushing, you're probably wondering, well, what are the different benefits I can get from pushing, and how am I able to recognize those benefits in a consistent manner? The first notable mention of pushing, especially in the early game in the first couple of levels, is getting a level advantage. If you can start pushing the wave early, you can hit level 2 before the enemies. Once you're both level 2, if you can start pushing the waves, guess what? You're going to hit level 3 before them. Whenever you're level 5 is another really important part where pushing might be a good idea, because whenever you're level 5, if you cannot push the enemies, guess what? You're going to hit level 6 first, which could potentially force an all-in. The second immediate benefit of pushing is it will not allow your enemy laners to roam. If the enemy laner is playing a heavy roam champion, something like Thresh, Talon, Quinn, pushing on them will allow you to take away a big part of their kit, which is roaming around and killing your teammates. A third potential benefit of pushing is if you are long range champions that have floaty auto attacks especially, it can be very easy to poke the enemies under turret whenever they're trying to last hit the minions. As long as you're at least a mid-range champion, you should be able to auto the enemies under their turret without taking any enemy turret aggro. A fourth huge benefit of pushing people under their turret is it will allow you to set up dives if the enemies are low on HP, or even better, if your jungler gets on board as you're shoving in wave, just ping it in, your jungler will come down and you can 3-man dive somebody or maybe 4-man dive somebody. The reason why pushing is so important for diving is if you try to dive somebody without having minions crashing into their turret, you'll be taking several turret shots before you even get a chance to hit the enemy. If you already have minions under their turret, then you can walk all the way up to the enemy, hit them, and then you'll take a turret shot rather than taking 2 to 4 beforehand. You should be able to take advantage of the benefits of pushing safely. Now, if you try to take advantage of the benefits without doing any of the safety aspects, it's like having sex without taking any safety. It seems like a good idea, but then you're gonna get an STD or you're gonna get somebody pregnant. There are, of course, more benefits to pushing if done correctly. I'll make a separate video on that in the future, because if I mention them all in this video, this would take forever. The fifth and final huge mistakes people make in low elo that they don't even realize they're making is their mini-map. Your mini-map is your greatest friend. Every single tip I mentioned in this video involves your mini-map. Even the tip around using your summoner spells and ultimates in fights and all-ins involves using your mini-map, assuming you're a champion that has a global ability such as Soraka, Karthus, Shen, etc. The first thing you need to do to start utilizing your mini-map correctly is go to your interface, make your HUD scale at the largest at 50. I would recommend turning it all the way down to 0. The larger your HUD scale is, the less likely you are to look at your mini-map because it's taking up so much space. It's taking away from the importance of map awareness. The next thing you're going to want to do is turn your minimap size all the way up to 100. In my opinion, that's still not big enough. If you're interested on making your map even bigger, I'll leave a link down below for you to learn how to make your minimap larger than 100 without breaking any rules or without getting in any trouble with Riot. I personally take mine all the way up to 150 or 1.5. I feel like that is the ideal size. Before you even think about going in for an all-in or going for a play, roaming, or deciding what you're going to do next, you need to at least look on your mini-map one time to figure out where your teammates are and figure out where the enemies are. There will be a lot of situations where players will make really stupid mistakes like running in 1v4, running in 1v3, running in 1v2, simply because they saw you in the area before they did so and they said, well, I thought you were coming. Well, before you decided to all in, why didn't you just look on the minimap before you did that, and then you would see that it was a bad idea. That is going to wrap up this video of 5 huge mistakes beginners and noobs make without even thinking about it. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to support the channel, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My name is KingStix. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.